Auburn's passing game and the RPO system last year was certainly clunky, and it did not go very smoothly. And I think you sort of heard from Thorne in the spring. He was talking specifically about a change they made, but I think just overall getting the offense to the point where, I mean, I hate to say that it's what Freeze's Auburn career will be, or his Auburn tenure will be built on, because it's just one of several things. But that RPO thing, I mean, that's very, very crucial to him. And so I think that's a big part of this season is, and I'll be interested to see early in the year and in preseason camp how smooth that looks and how much farther along they feel like they can be with Thorne. Because that is one of the worst signs of an RPO system is when it looks hard. It's not supposed to look hard. That's the whole point of an RPO is it's supposed to look easier, and it's supposed to be a one read system where you're sort of making a check at the line of scrimmage and then going from there. So that's not a perfect answer to this question, but I will say that is, I think, part of kind of the clunkiness of Auburn's offense that you saw last season was the fact that they just never, from receiver to quarterback and everybody else involved in the offense, they never felt like they were on the same page with the RPO. And that is probably priority number one this season, because they feel like with that system, Freeze has been doing it for a decade. Feels like if you get that rolling, everything else is going to fall into place, especially when you have better players now.
Yeah, no, yeah. Everything about last year, and obviously some of us on Peyton Thorne, Hugh Freeze talked about it all year, but the lack of those guys, I'm trying to think, it's not continuity because there was no continuity at all. I mean, he wasn't on campus. Half his receivers weren't on campus. Those guys didn't go through spring practice, and everybody's learning a new system. And so it never really felt like that anybody had any confidence in what they were doing. And it showed on the field. Combine that with receiving core that didn't make many plays and dropped a bunch of passes. And hey, Peyton Thorne didn't play perfect either. But you had it all come together where it looked ugly. It looked ugly a lot of the time. I think you have more weapons outside. You have a staff that's on the same page, and you have a quarterback that's playing in a system that he played in all the way back to high school. I think those are things that make everybody feel a lot more comfortable when you step out on the field game one than they ever were last season, in my opinion.
Well, and the thing that I would add too is, Hugh Freeze said it after games last year. He was actively trying to slow the games down. He was actively trying to keep his defense fresh because he didn't feel confidence in the depth that they had and that they'd be able to hold up for the full game. And for that matter, that the offense would have enough explosiveness to keep a drive going. And that's why he was trying to slow the game down. So I think maybe that could contribute to slow starts in the first quarter a little bit.
I don't think there's any question about that. And I think, I think the worst thing that happened to Auburn last year was playing the way they did against Georgia. Because if you go out there and lose to Georgia 42-6 and you don't have anything going, then I think they pull the plug earlier and say, look, we got to go score. And then I think it gave them a false sense of hope that, hey, this is how we need to play this way. And then the offense kept stagnant. They never moved forward because, again, they weren't going tempo. They weren't going fast. And once they started doing those things, Arkansas was the best game of the year. Vandy was another pretty good one. Now, those teams weren't great, but they finally got something going where they were able to move the football and have a little fun and a little pace. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year.
Yep, for sure. I mean, it's what it all boils down to. It is such a big thing for this team this season. I mean, it's we can talk about receiver, we can talk about Peyton Thorne, we can talk about Cam Coleman, we can talk about Derek Nix and Hugh Freeze taking things over. It's got to all marry together, and it's the biggest on-field storyline for this team certainly this year is getting that passing game to improve.